What's up, everybody? Welcome to the PixelPlay Podcast, the only podcast that basically none of the three hosts are ever all together in one place for more than a week. My name is Adam, aka CS Radical, joined as always, Jin and Chris, the usual second member of the group now, since Daddy Kaylan over here is always busy these days. So, but we've had a decent run so far since the comeback in January. You know, he's been about there for like half now.
Yeah,
actually about as many episodes as you. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's right.
2 weeks vacation.
It's not my fault. It's completely my fault. Who else's fault could that be? I took vacation. That's what happens.
I mean, it's not really vacation if it's not your choice. It's, a forced vacation is not really a vacation at that point. That sounds like a kidnapping.
Yeah, kidnapping, or you've been laid off, and that's how you want to describe it at work.
Yeah, I suppose that's also up there too. So obviously, there's been so much going on in the news, and I mean so much, I really just mean Sony decided to conk out for about a full day and then hasn't still to this day said really what it was. It's an operational issue. That could mean a lot of things.
Yeah, no, operations is just like the entirety of everything, so I don't know.
But hey, at least we got 5 extra days of PS5 Plus.
Oh, God, it's so... I love how in the Discord, which, by the way, everyone join our Discord, the conversations are great, such as me saying, I hope PSN stays down so we can get that 2011 PSN being down free game situation again. And it's just they gave us 5 days of PS Plus, which I guess now instead of like November 3rd or whenever it normally resets for me, now it's November 8th.
Also, if you're playing the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, I did see they're putting an extra day on that as well. So at least
that's pretty cool. See, I get that. That's good. Like the developers extending the betas and stuff by a day or longer. Love that. Sony's response.
I keep looking at trying it out, and every time I go, I'd be like, I know what Monster Hunter is. It's gonna kick the shit out of me when I eventually do play Wilds. It's like that is a month from now problem or longer, depending on when I decide to pick it up.
Yeah, because there's a lot of games coming out. There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to, because I'm pretty sure Persona 3 Reload will be done by the next time we're on the show again, because I'm very much towards the third and final act. It's just a matter of unless something completely takes me away from it. But I need to finish this ASAP, because if I'm gonna play Trails for Daybreak 2 when it comes out in a few days, I'm gonna need to be ready. So
yeah. Oh, you've been playing that for a while. Not the Persona. Now I'm trying to pull up your. Okay, of course, in the Xbox app just doesn't work. I'm trying to pull up your account so I can see how long you've actually been playing.
Well, it's gonna say 80, but that's not counting time that it just sits there idle. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still thinking that the game is probably not too far off from that, which holy heck.
Well, if you're gonna try to complete as much of it as possible, which of course you are, this is you we're talking about here.
Yeah,
I don't know. Actually, let me go check how long to beat for that game, because I know it'll probably be somewhere in the 60 for the normal bit. Oh no, I was way off. Just main story is 64. Completionist is somewhere between 95 and 100.
Damn it, Persona. Because the issue is it's on Game Pass, and I haven't started it yet. So by the time I get to it, what if I'm halfway into that, and it's like, hey, by the way, in 2 weeks, that game's gone. That's the scary part with games like Persona being on
Which is why you started now.
Game Pass. Yeah, I can't. I'm finishing Octopath Traveler 2 on there, which is just as fucking big. I've been stuck in that game for so long. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm very excited to play Octopath Traveler every time I sit down. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to play. But it is still the only game I can basically currently play, so I can't throw Persona in there. 2 games same time with that kind of length of time to complete. Oh, that's a disaster waiting to happen. Just a disaster.
I mean, I'm sure at some point, there'll be another sale and it'll be like $30 or something. So, there's always that.
Yeah,
too, but
that's true. I can always play Persona 4 Golden or something. That's not only is it Steam Deck verified, but on Steam it goes down to $17 every time it's any sale.
And honestly, now that I've actually put a bunch of time into 3 Reload, between that and Golden, you'd almost be better off starting with Golden now, just because it's technically the oldest at this point, because it's not. It wasn't a full-on remake.
Yeah.
Persona 3. I'm gonna probably talk a lot more about it when I finish it, probably next week's episode. But like that game hits way differently now than it would have when I was an edgy teenager boy.
Yeah.
Because holy shit, that game, like Persona 3 Reload is way darker than I remember it being. I forgot just how much more distressing it is at times. So I'm like, oh wow, we don't get a break from this fucking despair and shit, are we? All right. I mean, how many other D words? Well, depressing, death, let's just keep adding like really sad D words consistently. But I mean, it's still relative. Like, they did the best they honestly could without completely revamping what the game was. Because the biggest fault of the original, if you ever wanted to play the old PS2 game, was that the dungeons are procedurally generated and they really don't change design all that much. So thankfully in this one, they did switch it up a little bit more. They've also added things to the battle system that make it cleaner. They added stuff from Persona 5 that kind of at least, adds a bit. Because the original was just straight fight, do this. If you get all the weaknesses, you get an all-out attack with everybody, and that does a bunch more damage. But that's it. Whereas in 5, if you get hit a weakness, you would be able to have the opportunity to just change to extend your extra turn, because whenever you get a weak point hit, you get an extra turn out of it. But it's usually your own character. But obviously, most characters aren't going to have any other, elemental efficiencies that they can use in that battle, because maybe you got 3 enemies, 1 week to wind, 1 week to fire, 1 week to sword attacks. So if your person only has wind damage and they have a bow and no other elemental damage, well, then you've just used a turn with, you can't do much with it. So you just flick them with the bow at that point. You're like, well, that was a good time. Whereas now they took 5's baton pass is what they call it then. Can't remember what they call it now. But essentially it's, you can take that turn, push it to somebody else, so that way you keep a flow going on the weak spots. So that way it's not taking a bunch out. They've added some other little things here and there, but the most important thing is just it's way cleaner. There's a lot more cutscenes and voice acting for stuff now, so it definitely tells the story a lot better. I don't remember how much voice acting was in the original compared to this one, but every single social link always has voice acting, which I'm pretty sure only like the first and final levels did. Because I know it's like that in I believe it's like that in 4 and 5, if I'm not mistaken. And I know it definitely is in 4. I can't remember if it's in 5 or not. But they definitely did a bunch of stuff to kind of add to it. And I'll talk about it way more then. It's not a bad entry point, but I think I'm at the point now where I would say, you know what? Unless you're ready to be depressed immediately, maybe start with 4, get an up and up first.
Yeah.
As like a good
Start
introduction.
With a high.
I mean, 4 is all about mysterious murders happening, but at least it's not nearly as sad, because most of the people that die in that game, you're like, who cares about that one?
It's happy.
That guy was an asshole. Whereas the people that generally die in 3, it's like, why does it have to be this one? And then like a month later, why could you not wait a little bit longer? Fuck. I was saying to a friend of mine who had also played the OG, and we were both talking about like how like certain characters, like, man, they really did play the game of you don't get to just finish your story sometimes, because some people have like arcs they could finish and have like a redemption, and they don't get that. And it's like, fuck. I've watched too much anime to expect that actually finishes. Shit. Or at least they Dragon Ball Z them back with the Dragon Balls, but no, we don't get that. Like, they just gone.
They just gone. Yeah, I gotta get into that series. I know I'm gonna love it. Same as Metaphor Refantasio. And actually, I was gonna tell you, and I'm glad I saved it for the podcast. On Steam, they have obviously points you get, these Steam points for their Steam store. And the points are for like profiles that you can have on your, like, obviously your main page, your emojis, backgrounds, that kind of stuff. But what I mostly save all my points for is they have Steam Deck videos. And usually it was just Steam originally that made some. And it's, like all these pieces of candy that come together and form the Steam Deck logo, and that's it. So it's actually like the boot video when you unsuspend or actually turn on the Steam Deck. But then developers also have the ability to make their own videos. So There was like, it was a lot of indie games that did it at first. There was like a Dead Cells 1, Hades, that kind of stuff. And again, it's just like the guy from Hades coming in, or actually, I think it was Zeus with a lightning bolt. It flashes and then boom, the Steam Deck logo. I was very surprised because the most recent one that was added was Metaphor ReFantazio. Atlas actually created a Steam Deck boot logo and added it to the store. They're not the most surprising. Sony's been doing a few. They've got a God of War and a Last of Us one, which shocked me that Sony is putting effort into another device that's not Sony owned. But the Metaphor ReFantazio one is right up your alley. Like, you got to have a look at it. You can go in the Steam store and just look at it. Obviously, it's like 8 seconds long because it's a boot animation, but it is very, very cool the way that they kind of designed a very anime introduction with the characters from that game, and then boom, Steam Deck logo. Very
Still
cool.
Mad Pink Bunny Girl's not a party member. I'm gonna wait.
She's
to
not
see
in the
if
video.
like somebody's eventually. I don't know if it's already done or not. I'm sure so, because you'll see that in some JRPGs where they'll replace the character model with somebody else.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, you know what? If there's gonna be a mod that replaces somebody with that girl, I'll be so happy. It's not gonna make any sense when the actual cutscenes start and it's completely different voice, but I don't give a shit.
They choose just the deepest, manliest voice they can possibly
honestly,
get in the game.
There's a character now. Those who have played Metaphor, the last party member, you can make sense of that. They fight with a giant axe. She's a monk, like she's a brawler. But I could also see her just lugging around a giant axe, whacking the shit out of people with it.
Yeah, sometimes a monk needs an axe. It happens, right? Especially in a bunny costume.
Well, she's not a bunny. She's just an actual bunny girl. Like
she's an actual bunny.
Yeah, it's fantasy races, so very much like you see like elves and shit. Like there's actually a race of like short little person bats essentially. Like they go that far with some of them too. Like they actually did really when I say Metaphor ReFantazio is Final Fantasy if it actually stuck to the fantasy part, I do mean that.
Oh, that is probably the easiest way for you to sell me on a game, Adam. What you just did is you took everything I miss from Final Fantasy that hasn't been there since like probably, well,
you mean
maybe
like a
12.
Good Villain? Because it has that too.
Oh, no. Oh, Good Villain, yeah. How long has that been?
When's the last Good Villain? It might actually be Kuja.
10, Seymour was pretty good with 10-ish.
No, but I'm talking like main.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's not
because like Sin isn't really. And let's be real, Yu Yevon for like the 5 seconds that prick's there.
I totally forgot he was the villain.
And it's not even the first. You know what? And it's not even the first time they've pulled that shit.
No, it's like also, is Kuja really the villain in 9? He is up until the last 5 minutes.
But it's like saying the same thing. It's like, yeah, Golbez is the villain, but Zeromus is the one that comes in at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, fucking Final Fantasy. Okay, so like, play Metaphor. Got it.
So like, it definitely isn't 10. 12 Vayne is honestly like the entirety of 12 is basically like, go have fun on this adventure and don't care too much about the plot because we don't really know what we're doing with it either.
I couldn't tell you who the villain was from 12.
It was
Vayne. I can't even remember their name. Vayne? That's their name?
Yep.
I think I can picture their face, but it's like extremely non-memorable. Like just not
just
at
like
all.
The game. Apart from Balthier and Fran.
Yeah, what was I'm Bosch Ron Wagenberger or whatever when you run around and just
Bosch von Ronsenberg.
Yeah, I remember that vividly. And I remember the characters. Like I do remember the characters and the music. But other than that.
Oh yeah.
That is just an MMO with no story. And it's
so an
player.
MMO. Now
it's
take
an MMO.
that, Final Fantasy 14 fans. You're gonna get real salty about that. I say as someone who only played the free trial and didn't even finish like the main original storyline because again, MMOs just burn me out real fast.
Oh, I want to go back to Final Fantasy 14 so bad. Oh, I really do.
So like I never finished 13, so that doesn't even count. So that's already taken away from me.
You never finished 13?
The real villain was dealing with Lightning and Hope's constant bitching. That was the real villain.
Oh, Hope was so annoying. Holy fuck.
And then they made him cool in 13 too, the only game I finished.
You never finished 13 at all?
Nope.
Oh my gosh. You didn't miss anything. I'll tell you that right away.
I'm aware. That's why I dropped it.
Oh, I finished it. I had to. There's no way that my 2008? 7? Whatever year it came out as, there's no way I would have
I didn't
been able
think
to
so
not
either.
finish it.
That's how bad 13 is.
Yeah. Oh,
in the same way that I didn't anticipate, hating Andromeda as much as I did for Mass Effect, but yet here it is. Sometimes a company just goes out of its way to exceed your lowest expectations.
Oh, Mass Effect. Yet another one that I've got the Legendary Edition because you and I console share. First game I played, got the Platinum, loved it, couldn't wait to go into the second one. Haven't even installed it yet. Mass Effect 2, I've never played Mass Effect 2, and I haven't even installed it yet to play. And everybody right now listening to this just clicked log off this podcast or whatever.
I got a simple solution for you.
Just play it.
Don't be married anymore. It's going to reduce some of that time.
You have no idea how much time I would gain, and how that would be great for a little bit.
Same thing with Kaylan. Look, just if you take away the kids, there's so much more time there now.
Yeah, just take them away. It's fine.
Right?
I can't be a dad anymore. I have to play Mass Effect 2.
Adam, but then I'm thinking 15, Arden, not really much of anything either. People more of us a sympathetic villain to most people in that.
Yeah, he was this guy with that cool hat. I don't know. I forgot his name until you just said it as well.
And then 16, I don't even know who it was because I only got 10% the way through and then realized, wow, the only cool villain in the blonde girl is already out of the picture. Well, fuck, my interest is gone.
Yeah, it was some Ultima something. You know how there was Ultimacia? Actually, no, I think in Final Fantasy VIII, Ultimacia was mentioned a lot halfway into the game. That's when she kind of came in.
Yeah, and
we knew.
There was at least a reference to it in some way.
Yeah, it wasn't oh, wow, this is completely unrelated. But 16, it was just this evil thing for the sake of being evil.
What was what's the word I'm looking for? It's right on the tip of my tongue and I just can't. The precursor, there we go.
Yes.
The precursor to Ultimecia. But
yeah.
But yeah, I would say the main villain of Metaphor is one of the better JRPG villains we've had in quite some time. So,
dang, that is high praise, and the fantasy part too. I gotta play that. It's gonna be tough because if that goes on sale enough, I may end up playing it before Persona, and then that'll ruin Persona. I feel not ruin it, but it'll be not starting at the.
I wouldn't say so. I always just tell people to try to start with either 3 or 4 as a baseline before, because I obviously have gone back and played 3 Reload right now, and I still enjoy it, but I obviously do see that there are quite a number of things where it's yeah, you're definitely a game from the PS2 era.
Yeah, that's the tough part. Those limitations do not carry forward always.
But sometimes the story is what carries it. 4 Golden will get by a lot better because it does have enough voice acting to make that good. And I think the story is one of the better ones they have in the series. So it's definitely one that's even being a bit older and not nearly as polished as say the 3 Reload remake is, or say what Persona 5 Royal is today. I think 4 is still tenable. It may not be nearly as much if you just play Persona 5 or Metaphor and immediately jump to Persona 4, you're probably going to be this is a little antiquated, but if I went back and played Golden right now, I probably wouldn't be too bad because there's been some time in between.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe Metaphor will be brought to freaking Game Pass, then I'll be never mind, I'm just doing that.
I mean, it's almost been a year, so it wouldn't. Oh wait, no, it's definitely not almost been a year. I think it came.
No, it's not been a year yet. Yeah.
Time,
but I don't know. They do add the Persona games to Game Pass, and they're there for a bit, or I guess a year. I'd have to play it right away.
Persona 5 was there for a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if Metaphor gets announced somewhere in the summer or the fall, potentially.
Yeah. Golden was on there for a bit. That one I just didn't rush to because I knew if I ever needed to buy that, it's less than a month of Game Pass.
Yeah, and especially because you can get it on Steam and play it on Steam Deck, which is even better. So.
Oh yeah, that definitely feels like a Steam Deck game.
It definitely would be, considering that it's not going to be 1440p 4K level graphics.
Yeah,
you'll play it on Steam Deck, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Speaking of Steam Deck, this is my transition. I was just
gonna ask what you're up to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we didn't do what we've been playing.
It's getting there.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
You go first.
All right. Okay. So for some reason, I've realized that all the games I've been talking about lately and I've been playing are all remasters. I realized it was like Skyward Sword HD, Gravity Rush remastered, and then I can't remember what the other one was, but it was also a remastered game of some sort. And the game that I'm about to talk about is another freaking remaster. Like I don't understand why I'm going back and playing all these older games.
Yeah, he's talking about a backlog and he's playing just old games again.
Yeah. Well, they are in the backlog because I bought them as the remaster, so it still counts as defeating.
But did you play the original before it?
Actually, for this one, no, and that's why I wanted to play it so much.
You get away with this one then.
Yeah, just this one, I get away with it. It's Metroid Prime Remastered, the one that they just did for Switch and re-released it. I'd never played a single one of the Metroid Prime games. I don't know why. I had a GameCube. I just never, I got it used, much later and all that kind of stuff, but I had no desire.
I tried the OG, but I haven't played them either. But then again, Metroid's never been one that I've been, super into. I've never finished one at this point.
I have finished all the 2D Metroid games, whether it's Game Boy Advance or Super Nintendo.
Mess with Super Metroid. I just never get around to it.
Oh, Super Metroid. I remember beating that for the first time. It was on the Wii. I didn't have it on my Super Nintendo, but as soon as it was available on the Virtual Console, I grabbed it. And I've been beating all the 2D ones since. Basically, I had the Metroid 2 on my Game Boy when I was a kid. I love the 2D, but there was something about the first-person shooter ones that I just was like, I don't want to be Samus first-person shooter. It's a Metroidvania. It's its own genre. Why is it being taken out of such a cool genre? But I don't know why. I think it's just because there are no Metroid 2D games I haven't played and beaten at this point. And I thought to myself, okay, this remaster has extremely high scores. It's 9s or 10s across the board, basically. It was a Nintendo game that was released in Canada at $49.99 for full price, which that's not a Nintendo game ever. So yeah, I was like, you know what? I've got very few games left for the Switch before it gets retired. I had 3 games that I guess 4 games I wanted to play on it. Whether I own them or not, there was 4 games in total. And over Christmas, I think it was on sale slightly, but not by much, maybe $5 or $10 off or something like that. But either way, I got some Nintendo gift cards for Christmas, and I was like, I'm going to play Metroid Prime Remastered finally. I'm just going to do it. And I played through, I beat it. It wasn't obviously overly long. I think it took me about 15 hours. And when I went on vacation for those couple weeks, it is the game that I played on the plane on the way there and on the way back. I have to say, this is a fantastic game. It still is a Metroidvania. It is very much you're always returning to the same spots, not in a bad way, not where it's it feels tedious. It's cool that you'll notice a secret and you kind of take note of it. That's a wall I can only break with the ice gun, and all of a sudden 5 hours later you actually get the ice gun and you're like, oh shoot, there was that one wall I can go to. That's really, really cool. I'm gonna go back. It has the same Metroidvania feels to it, but just from a different perspective. I was surprised at the effort that they had put into this game. There is such small little details that a lot of first-person shooters don't do, that I'm surprised now that they hadn't done it. For example, when you are in the first-person mode as Samus, it's not just first person. You actually see the visor, kind of like your Iron Man. You're seeing some of the stats and stuff around there. And some cool things that happen. It's if you fire off a missile, there's a brief blast when you fire off the missile. And when you do, you actually see Samus's reflection on the screen in the visor. It's something minor. It's so small. But the fact that they even put in those very, very small details, it was crazy to me. Because again, you'll play a Call of Duty or something like that. The only effect they ever do is rain on the camera lens. But it's supposed to be you're the camera lens, you're a person. Why are there raindrops on me? I'm a fucking camera. That makes no sense. Here, they didn't do that kind of stuff. They made it it's a visor, and Samus's face will appear for a brief second. It's not it gets in the way. It's more of an Easter egg kind of situation, I'd say. But it is super, super, super cool. And of course, very like accessibility. You can actually turn off the visor so it does look like a normal, just first person game and stuff like that. But I didn't want to do that. I actually loved that the visor was there, and it made sense.
I also don't even know why you would want to, because it's kind of the vibe that this game kind of has anyway.
Yeah. And like it's weird because like you're in ball form right now for anybody watching in the video, which is also amazing. So it's got still crazy 3D puzzles, but they're all like ball mechanics, obviously, kind of like a marble puzzle. But you're the marble because you're Samus. Things like the mini map and like where enemies are, what weapon you have equipped, all of that you see on the visor goes away. When you're in ball form, you're not looking through the visor, so you don't see that stuff. So you can't see your mini map and all that when you're in, little Samus ball mode. Like, again, these are all small details that really, really actually add to the immersion of the game, which is crazy. Another thing, the map I thought was really cool. It's like Super Metroid and stuff. You'd always open the map because it's like, all right, I know there was like, how do I get to this area? I know there's a missile there and it's like up, down, but it's 2D, so it wasn't too hard to navigate. Here, it's a 3D environment. Like how I was like, this map is going to suck. It's not going to be very fun, blah, 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 blah. No, the map as a 3D environment was actually really, really cool. It was kind of like a 3D scan or a hologram that you could kind of move around, zoom in and out and stuff like that. Super, 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 super cool. I basically loved every moment of this game. The only gripe that I have, because there's a lot of good, is at the end of the game, there's like, in order to get to the final boss, you need 12 artifacts. And it's kind of like you have to find them, and there's hints about them. Like you go to this altar and then there's the 12 stones and you can get hints about each one and go and try and find them. Some of them are fucking just impossible to find. Like there's no like, oh, there's an ice door. I now have ice. I should be able to just randomly get that artifact. You have to go and search for these tiny clues, and like they're kind of a pain in the ass. I did not like that part. Everything else felt like natural progression, that it wouldn't be ever too hard for anybody. And even if you took too long, you could have a hint system on where it'd be like, oh, motion detectors sensed on this part of the map, and it'll actually just give you what room you need to go to continue the story. That's great. Except with these 12 artifacts. And they're just like 12 collectibles to just get randomly at the end of the game. Whereas the whole game is getting, like collectibles, like you upgrade your weapon, your armor, blah, blah, blah as you go. But everything made sense, and it was like really good, like amount of time between collectibles. Like it felt really natural and good. Where again, at the end of the game, it's like, all right, go back to everything you just did and find 12 collectibles hidden that you already walked past, but you probably just had no idea that there was a secret wall hidden behind ice that you'd never know to like blast that wall and find this without checking a guide or like being really lucky with these clues.
Like some of those OG NES Zelda walls where you're like, why would I ever think to put a bomb there?
Yeah, like it's just not intuitive. It feels like they just wanted to make the ending of the game a little bit longer, because I think it took me about 15 hours in total, and 1 to 2 hours was me going to grab those artifacts. So I have a feeling it was when they were doing the original game, they were like, people can beat this in like 13 hours. We should make it a little bit longer. Oh, just put 12 more collectibles. Like that is really what the vibe I got. But yeah, the game is amazing. The combat is also really easy, apparently, compared to the GameCube, because it's now dual joystick, where the GameCube didn't have that. Apparently the other joystick wasn't used for the camera. So it had a lock-on system, which works really well. You hit like LR or LZ or whatever the hell Nintendo calls it, but it's like L2. You hit that and you aim at the nearest enemy, and you can kind of cycle through them and fire at them. But now you actually have both. So not only are you like able to free like camera around where you're aiming using the right joystick, you can also then hit L2 and lock onto an enemy. So you can like move 85% of the way as you normally would with the camera, but then lock on just to ensure that you're actually hitting a weak spot or like where you need to hit them. So it not only like they made that pretty easy. Also, the game has a normal, hard, and story mode for difficulty. So even if you just wanted to experience the story, you can absolutely just go through and do that. I did the game on normal, but I'm curious, like, I'm not sure how easy story was, but normal also wasn't too difficult, which is great. So I'm assuming story mode is literally as it is described, where it's like you're just experiencing the story. You will have no problem going through. Maybe besides the exploring and stuff. Obviously, it's still gonna the puzzles are the puzzles. You can't get around that. But at least the difficulty of bosses and enemies, like you're never gonna really have to worry about those. So I highly recommend this game if anybody likes the Metroid universe, even if they didn't think they'd like the first person's perspective. I honestly found the game just to be a delight to play through. And I actually, again, got that feelings of like, oh, it's a Saturday evening. I'm going to be at home tonight. You know, not much going on. I'll go grab my Switch. I should play some more Metroid Prime Remastered. That game's, I'm addicted to it. Like, it gave me those feels, which not a lot of games do these days. So yeah, highly, highly recommend. I know we do our scoring out of like 6. I would give this like a 5.5. And the only reason I'm taking that half away is those weird collectibles right at the end of the game that just felt like tacked on just for the heck of it.
So it's got like 9's vibes if we were doing the 10 scale.
Yeah, if it was just a normal score, yeah, like a 9 out of 10. Absolutely.
Alrighty, well, that leaves me. So as of today, as we record this, we are finally caught up on everything I finished. As I review my last thing that I have played, and actually I think this is the first game that I finished this year technically. So, or wait, no, that's not true because Unicorn Overlord was part of the
that was this year
Classic nominations. See, again, time is screwing with me, man.
Oh,
also the thought
too.
of like, wait, I have finished more than one game in the last 40 days. No, that's not true. But I know Persona 3 is long. It ain't that long. That was Unicorn Overlord. Unicorn Overlord was fucking long. So after finishing a really long game in Unicorn Overlord, I obviously talked about, you know, the operator and crime scene cleaner, which is kind of like a good in-between. And I'm like, all right, we're finally done, you know, cleansing the palette. I'm going to look at something that seems a lot more story intensive. And I was searching for a few things back and forth, and nothing was really clicking. So I kind of leaned back into, all right, well, I got a few indie things I've been wanting to take a look at because I've seen some decent ratings on it. So you know what? We'll take this one a shot. It probably might not be much anything. It's got an art style kind of like Coffee Talk. So like, it's at least got my, you know, interest peaked with that. And then we'll see what happens. Well, I did not think that I'd be sitting here with you guys and talking about how I have a game that is essentially gonna be neck and neck with Unicorn Overlord for the Jin and Chris Classic this early, but the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood came out of left fucking field and turned into a game that I'm like, holy shit, this is a game that is a 10 out of 10 for me and might actually also rival Unicorn Overlord for the Jin and Chris already, and we've still got 10 months to go. That's awesome.
Wow.
So the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is essentially a visual novel that has some tarot elements to it. So the gist of the story initially is that you are a witch who was exiled because you, as a person who is into divinity and reads fortunes and stuff, eventually you called for the complete end of your witch coven. And to try to deal with the fear that you created, the leader of your coven banished you to essentially limbo for is it a millennia? Yeah, I think it's a millennia. So you're just sitting, and you can see on screen if you're watching on YouTube right now, this is the void. It's you in just this 2-story house just on a floating rock and God knows where in the universe. And that's it. It's just you. And you get visited by this some sort of demon apparition, like some sort of entity that grants you power to be able to slowly rebuild your tarot deck because it was taken away from you, and slowly help you not only as just being a companion to take away, because you've been, I think in the story, it's 200 years you've been there alone. So you basically summon this demon with forbidden magic because you're like, I can't take this shit anymore. I need somebody to talk to. And that starts that. and you start working towards creating a new deck that is completely void of tarot. It's no longer a tarot deck. It's not like your usual, like, oh, here's the tower, here's the lovers, here's the magician. No, it is completely manufactured yourself. And the way that it works is that there are, I believe, 4 elements. It's been like almost a month, so I'm forgetting some bits. I think it's 4. And as you talk to more people and read their fortunes that way, depending on the results you give, can put points in that element, which you use to then craft new cards. And when you craft new cards, you actually are given selections of designs. So you actually create the design yourself, sort of. It gives you like a background. It gives you some sort of like a sprite, a set of sprites that you can put on top of it, and you can just kind of play with it however you want. You can make some weird ass fucking cards, and then it takes what you've picked and generates some sort of a result based on the elements of the pieces you put in. So you might pick a background that's worth 3 wind, 2 earth, and then pick a sprite that's worth 4 fire and 1 water or something. And that will generate like how much elements those things will generally give to you based on the result you give. So it's sort of a choose your own adventure that when you do draw a specific card, it determines these choices that you can give a person. It could be 2 choices, it could be 4, it could sometimes be even more than that. There is a specific card that you develop later that literally will give you every single choice that there is to make in that. But it's depending on how big your deck is, you may not draw it at all. And I think I drew it like maybe once my entire playthrough. You get it about halfway in, so there wasn't nearly as many opportunities as I would have liked to, but I also had a pretty large deck because I just kept creating shit. And I went into that game going, okay, it's probably going to do the, oh, your choices matter stuff, and it'll probably just turn out that, oh, it doesn't matter by the time the game ends. I did not realize how actually important the things I said at the very beginning of the game meant something, because I forgot. And then the end came and said, oh, by the way, remember when you said you would do this? If this happened, I went, oh, fuck, I did say that. Ah, shit. I didn't assume that was going to come back and bite me. So, like, little choices matter. Like, this person, if you're, again, watching on YouTube, there's actually a point where it's like the choice I ended up making is that I said, oh, in the future, you're going to get a very serious injury. And as it turned out, like, that actually fucking happened. Or there's a character where I said, oh, you're going to fuse with this demon and it's going to make you better. And sure enough, they fucking fuse with one down the line. And it's just something where everything you do actually slowly comes back to what you added to. And there are, I think it's like 10 endings. I've only played through once. And the reason that I only played through once is because it's like an 8 to 10 hour experience, and I had other stuff I wanted to play. I might come back to it sometime down the road, but like I said, you know what? Because the ending I got wasn't great. I'm like, you know what? I made this bed. I need to lie in that. I need to accept that that's the ending I deserve because that's the ending I drew. I drew these cards, specifically said this was going to happen, and that's what I got. That's what I get. I did this. It's not like I didn't look through. There actually weren't even guides really on this game because it seems to be a very hidden diamond in the rough here. So there wasn't really much to look for. Even in the couple of times I looked to see, oh, what happens if I do this? Wasn't really any information. So eventually I said, fuck it. We'll go in blind. Because sometimes, like, say with the Walking Dead games or some of the Telltale stuff, sometimes you pause for a second to be like, is this decision I make going to really fuck with me? And you sometimes check just to make sure. Because you want to get a better ending. Especially me, because I don't generally play games more than once. So especially with these things, I want to try to get, like, a satisfying ending instead of, blocking myself into something bad. In this case, I went, you know what? I'm just gonna give what the game gives me. I'm gonna take what the game gives me. It's my own bed that I have to lie in. And the game is very much, as you can see if again on YouTube, if you're watching the feed, like just it's very girl power conversation-y. I wouldn't say that it's so far that like as a guy you can associate with. Obviously, I'm talking about a game that I thought was a 10 out of 10 here. But it definitely, if you are a woman, you would definitely associate with this even more. There's definitely some very crude and fun conversations that have in this that I can only imagine those of the opposite sex would really gravitate towards. But like the vibe that it gives, very much like I said, Chris, very that coffee talk. It definitely does have that coffee talk chill level vibe. At no point did I feel any amount of stress. So like that was perfectly what I was looking for. The music is very much similar to that, very chill vibes and everything. And again, like I gotta say how genuinely surprised I was that it felt like, and obviously a lot of these games, it comes back down to, you don't necessarily impact everything so perfectly so that it's like it's your specific end. It always does come back to a pre-set amount of possibilities. But this is one of the few games where I actually sat there and thought about the choice I made. And thought, okay, you know, do I want to give this person the outcome they want or the outcome that I think is right? And that doesn't happen very often. More often than not, you're just like, I want the good ending, so I'm going to pick this. But there were a number of choices in this game that I went, I'm not doing that because that makes zero sense for that person. At least in what I felt. Or in some cases I went, I know this is the right option, but that's not what I would do. And eventually, and there were even some choices where I'm like, no, fuck you. You're getting the worst outcome. Fuck that. You don't deserve good. So like, you know, I was vindictive in certain cases. I was openly honest in others, and I was sympathetic in others. It really depended on the situation. And it actually felt like a game where you actually sit down and take a moment to assess what you've done. And sometimes it may not even be a choice that you like. There were a couple of occasions where the card that I drew and the choices that I got, I was like, I don't like any of these. What's the least painful one out of these? And that's kind of what I would go with in some of them. And between that and all the dialogue, the characters are all very, very good. There's no voice acting, unfortunately, but I think in some ways it kind of is for the best because a game of this budget, I can only imagine, probably would have had some suspect stuff in there. But like, I love so many characters in that game. There were some that there comes to a point where you have to essentially do battle with somebody that I really, really, really liked. And I'm like, I don't want to say anything mean about this person. I really don't want to do anything bad to this one. And you're trying to like sort of guide your way around it. So I really did like spend a little bit of time trying to finesse myself around the conflict. Now, obviously, the ending I got wasn't as satisfying as I like to be. So I guess didn't do the best job on that. But full disclosure, like if you're a visual novel guy, this is a must play. And the fact that it's such a hidden gem, very much like Until Then was for me for my game of the year last year, I can't recommend this enough. The only thing I would say is if you're a hot-blooded male, like super alpha male, you might not associate with this nearly as much. But if you're open to a little more thoughtful shit, this is definitely something very up your alley. And if you're a choose-your-own-adventure person, this is everything you could ask for from a choose-your-own-adventure.
Wow.
Easiest 10 out of 10 I've given in a while.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to everybody. I'm on Steam right now, wish listing this game, and I'm done.
I mean, all I had to do was say it was coffee talk vibes, and you're like, and
I'm not gonna lie, that was what sold me. That, and then just I love when it's like I don't even know what you'd call the art style and the perspective and stuff, but it's like
I honestly
the way
look
the building
at it, it's SNES with like a bit more polish now.
Yeah, like when there's like how it was that building, and it was like a 3D object, but it was surrounded by nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's just this sole building and then other characters are in there and stuff. I love that perspective of everything being on that angle and that kind of style. I've seen it a lot in games, and it definitely would fit with something like a coffee talk kind of idea. So yeah, the vibes of coffee talk and that art style, that was that combination that made me instantly go and quickly wish list it. And I won't play it for a long time because of the backlog, but that's definitely on the list.
And it's another one of those games that I keep talking about how, like, It genuinely pisses me off that I didn't start leaning in the indie sphere sooner, because there's a lot of stuff that I've obviously missed, and that includes stuff that like most people missed.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna go check the Steam page on like how many people have played at any moment on this game, but it's another one of those games, and it's similar to like what I've said with say Until Then or A Space for the Unbound and stuff like that, where it's like, man, like these are the kind of games that I'm really upset that people don't know about, and it's why I'm glad that at least I'm leaning more into that stuff now, because it's making me find stuff that like I can't believe. Yeah, the highest peak I've in this game is 685 people. And currently, in the last like few weeks, it's rarely ever more than 30. So like, no one's playing it.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
And
I wonder if
it's an older game. Like, it came out in 2023, so it's not like it's shocking that not many people have played it. But like, the average player never got higher than, apart from like its launch, 80.
Wow.
So like, people do not know about this game.
Yeah, and they should. I mean, I'm glad I found out about it. That's one more person.
Well, and again, it's why I honestly have started leaning into the indie sphere more, because I feel like a lot of these games need that attention because they aren't getting it. Because we're too busy waiting for whatever bullshit EA comes up with.
Yeah. Yeah, AAA. And the AAA space, I hate to say it, but besides the odd one like Astrobot, something like that, obviously, where it's like really done by studio and developers, mostly developers who obviously have an actual love for what they're doing. Most AAA games and just that entire space is very disappointing lately. And I say lately like it's just now. And when I say lately, I mean probably the last like 7 years. Like,
I mean, it's been
there
like
are
that
some
for
gems
a decade. It's just become like absurdly noticeable.
Yeah, now it just got always just a little bit worse, a little bit worse. There's still, again, like some Sony properties that are great, like the God of War games.
I mean, we'll
have
see
been
in the
great.
next 6 months how Xbox does with all theirs.
Yeah, and Xbox has a bunch. Like Avowed is out in 7 days. Like, it's very, very soon. I want to give that a go and stuff like that. But yeah, like unless something starts to turn around, it's rough. Like EA obviously has been super rough for a really long time. Ubisoft has been pretty rough, and every year it just seems to they hit that nail just a little bit further into that coffin.
I mean, Sony continues to kind of mystify us right now.
Yeah,
so, like,
Sony's a complete
they're in that, like, because
mystify.
we've been talking for a while about how Microsoft really hasn't had their A game in a long time, and now we're starting to see Sony trail off from where they were at their peak. So it's now that's starting to get a little bit worrying.
Yeah, like obviously Nintendo's its own thing. They're not out to be the pro gamer console and blah, blah, blah. They're AAA. Like, if you look at their AAA titles, while they're great, they are the least technologically fascinating and all that kind of stuff. Like, they're not giant AAA games almost. They are, but like they don't come across like, a lot of the effort and graphics and budget and everything that we expect from the other ones. Sony has a few that are still fine. Xbox is going to have a few that's still fine. Indiana Jones, for example.
I still trust the average Sony game when it comes out. That's not a live service game. It's probably still going to be good quality.
Yeah,
and that's the interesting thing for the next couple of years is going to be how many games are they going to have out, considering how many things they've canceled.
Yeah, they are canceling a lot. I feel like they're playing like fix the mistake. Like, they were like, all right, we're going to put everything into live service, blah, blah. Everybody loves that. That's where we're going to make money. We're going to be a live service console. It's how we survive. And a lot of people were like,
Insomniac real hard right now, being like, so how long till Wolverine?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because Insomniac, like with the Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that, they've been one of the most consistent in like, it's profitable, it's good, it's quality, everybody likes it, very few complaints. So yeah, they really need a single player win. I think Sony and Microsoft will still figure it out games wise, because they have to. Like, if they want to survive the gaming space, they have to. Nintendo can come out with a year of crap, and people will be like, I mean, I'm still gonna buy Mario Kart when there's a new one. Like, there'll always be that. Or my kid, I'm only gonna buy them a Nintendo because I don't want them playing any of the other stuff. I don't want them playing Call of Duty. I want them playing Mario Kart. So they'll always have that bit. But Sony and Microsoft, like Sony doesn't have the money Microsoft has. So if Sony messes up long enough, they could actually just be forced out of the console market. Obviously, they're doing well compared to Xbox, who's like literally releasing everything it has now on PS5, which is pretty crazy to see. But they still, even if they are going to get a lot less out of the console exclusive game, they've still got to be putting out their exclusives, or else they're going to suffer in Game Pass and all that kind of stuff too. So I think both of them will figure it out way before Ubisoft and especially EA would ever figure it out. Those ones are a lot more cocky. I think that Sony and Microsoft are, because of their direct competition with each other, they'll be the ones that figure it out first. I feel like they're more susceptible to it and more accepting, like, okay, we got to do something different. EA's like, put out a new Madden, everything will be fine. Put out a new FIFA, it'll be fine. And that's their plan every time.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at, the main studios that Sony has. Like, the only thing that might be coming out this year is Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah, if that's this year.
Like,
yeah.
Santa Monica sounds like they were working on a live service God of War. So that's we're probably not seeing anything out of them for a while. Naughty Dog, we know, is working on Intergalactic, but that's probably a few years away.
Yeah.
Insomniac is working on Wolverine, but we don't know when that's going to be. Guerrilla Games, they have projects with Horizon, but I mean, how long is that away? Like, between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West is 5 years, so if we take that logic into consideration, we're not seeing a new Horizon until 27. So that's that's another essentially 3 years.
Yeah.
Depending on when it comes out. Ben, we don't think is doing anything. Housemarque might put something up, but let's be honest, like, Housemarque isn't making like a AAA extravaganza.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, like the main big ones are all like either doing something in secrecy, had something canceled, or just released something. So like, it might be really quiet on the Sony front for a little while.
Yeah, like last year was already kind of quiet. It was Helldivers and Astrobot. 2 great games. I loved both of them. They're
if you're going to have 2 games out the entire year, essentially 2 of our favorite games all year, that one got snubbed for a Game of the Year nomination because of bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's still only 2, and 2 isn't enough to, I think, drive consoles.
I mean, it's more than what Microsoft did.
Oh, it's definitely more than what Microsoft did.
I don't think this year is going to be the same thing, though.
Yeah. Oh, no. I think this year will be a lot more Microsoft and
I mean,
less
if we count indie, it was 2-1 for Sony.
Yeah.
And if
indie came in like
this
right
year,
at the end.
It could be 1 for Sony and like 4+ for Microsoft.
Yeah, depending on how they
if they hit.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they hit, the thing is I'm so much more skeptical now of Microsoft because of Starfield. Starfield, like, it's the Bethesda people. It's like it's Fallout and Elder Scrolls in space. Like, it's gonna be incredible, and it was
like,
good.
I liked it.
Yeah,
but critically wasn't like a masterpiece.
No, it wasn't. Like, it just didn't hit the same way like Skyrim obviously did and stuff like that. Now, it could be the setting and stuff like that, but still, they built it up like this is the game. Like, they put out headphones for it, controllers for it, a console wrap for it, like so much stuff. And
that was their big one, and it got like 7s and 8s, a lotot of it.
Yeah.
Like, let me just quickly see what I don't know if it's ever going to change now, but what's the Metacritic for it these days? It is,
I'd imagine it's high 7s.
It's an 83, which is actually higher than I thought.
That is, it could be that the updates that they've done for it, there was that expansion or some stuff they added to it. Yeah, so it could be that.
The user score is 6.8, so if you kind of find there being a middle ground, like, I think high 70s would be a reasonable kind of meeting him in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other game that had come out that year, I think, was Redfall. So like, Microsoft has had it rough for a really long time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of dessert because they clearly were more interested in doing what businesses do, which is just buy shit and try to take over.
Yeah,
than actually create stuff.
Yeah, and even when they bought the shit, they haven't put out a lot of stuff from all those studios.
Well, because they bought stuff from companies that have no soul to them. Like Activision Blizzard hasn't had a soul since about 2005.
Yeah. I mean, they did have, like, they have Ninja Theory and who does Psychonauts? What the heck is their...
what is the name of Tim Schafer's studio? I can't think of what it is.
Yeah, I just know Tim Schafer. That's the thing. Tim Schafer. They bought him. But like the amount of studios that they bought that are also decent.
That's right.
Double Fine. There we go. Thank you. Like there's so many good games that all those other developers have, but it seems like Microsoft couldn't keep them all wrangled, like, and figured out how to like keep them all on a similar path or something. I have no idea. That you can't have 20 something studios and a year comes up and it's like, all right, we got 2 games. What are the other 18 studios doing? It's like, are you having it where all of them are releasing in 1 year and you'll have like 18 games and then for like 6 years you'll have 0 games? Like, you spread it out. Figure out how to have it where every year there's like 3 to 4 games. If you have that many studios and you get them in the right cycle, that's what would be happening right now. And whether they're all bangers or not.
In order to do that, Chris, they would have to actually do smart things like not make $200 million games that take 6 years to build. And maybe like actually do some smaller projects, because God forbid you make games that aren't 40-hour epics.
Yeah. Oh God, they just they have so much talent.
I pulled out EA for a reason because I did want to take a shot at them. Because one of the, I can't remember which CEO it was, but like they were talking about how like people crave the live service games, even though we're all like, did we just forget about how Concord completely utterly failed, and many other games have recently? But like the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 guys, the game just came out not too long ago. Their budget for that, from what I understand, was like I think I read it was 36 million if I'm not mistaken, because I was looking at this earlier before we recorded. They've already made that money back day one.
Yeah, that game is selling really well, and it is getting a lot of praise.
Why is this a problem for only AAA developers?
Yeah.
Is it maybe like we've said many times before in the show that the people that are in charge of these studios are not video game developers?
I think so. Honestly, I really do think that's what it is. Because when you take a lot of these CEOs, they've never even played a video game. They came from like Pizza Hut as a previous company or something. And don't get me wrong, Reggie from Nintendo, he didn't come from a video game background work-wise. He was actually
he actually looks like someone who loves it.
He loved video games. His entire, like, while he was working at Procter & Gamble and all that stuff, he went home and played Link to the Past like every night. He was a huge gamer, and it was his dream to get into gaming. So sure, not all these other CEOs for EA and stuff and Activision originally were gamers.
I don't look at Jim Ryan or Andrew Wilson or what's his fucking douchebag name, Bobby Kotick, and go, you know what? That guy looks like he sat down and played Diablo for 100 hours.
Yeah, no.
That guy looks like those guys look like they've been cheating on their wives for over 100 hours. That's what those guys look like.
Probably. Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. That's, if you don't have the love, then you're going to just build what you think will make money, not what people want. And that's why Baldur's Gate 3, because if you take that CEO, loves video games. I think he came from development, and like they put the care into it enough that even at the Game Awards, remember that guy came out and he gave that speech about how the industry is fucking over its developers and itself. And that's how you know that he is also a fan of
we obviously
the actual
had
industry.
The Arrowhead CEO for Helldivers say that he was going to take an absence until the next game. But like you saw the passion in everything that guy said, whether you agreed or not with what they were doing. Like you saw that he cared.
Yeah, and that's
when you see Andrew Wilson, or when you see, honestly, even when you see Phil Spencer right now talking about games, do you actually think he cares about what he's talking about, or is he just selling you?
Just selling.
I don't look at these people thinking that they give 2 iota of a shit of the product they're actually making. They just care if you buy it.
Yeah. And that's what sucks, because like Phil Spencer was definitely a guy that he's a gamer. Like he did play a lot of games, obsessed with gaming. And it's kind of like, I don't know if it's just he's not as much as involved, or if it's kind of like the people above him. Yeah, money's corrupting. The people above him are like, hey man, So it's great that, you're creating this great little community that's, pretty strong as Xbox, but it's got to make a lot more money or
Phil,
it's
Phil,
not
we
good.
can help you. Change your shirt twice if you need help.
No, he'll just change it twice anyways. It's got to be 3 times. That's the one. Not twice. It's not enough. Oh, yeah.
Because obviously we keep seeing more layoffs. I know the Unity engine company, they just laid off a shit ton of people too. So
yeah.
we go back again to the Game Awards where you had the guy who got that, I can't remember what they called the new award that they brought him, but the guy who was helping people find jobs and such, and obviously what the Baldur's Gate dev said. And it's coming to a point that, and we've talked about this a few different times on the show, but I genuinely feel disgusted sometimes, taking part in AAA gaming right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It feels gross. Yeah,
it feels like I'm supporting Walmart when I should be supporting a mom and pop shop,
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Now, I don't know if Baldur's Gate 3 devs are considered AAA developers and stuff. There are some.
I mean, you could make a case now given how much money they made, but
yeah. But I feel like they were more indie right before that. And probably are still.
We all have
indie.
Different ways of talking about what AAA is to us anyway. I don't look at, say, a CD Projekt Red as being AAA. I think they produce AAA quality games. I don't think the studio itself is what I would call a AAA studio.
Yeah. Because that's what I look
at AAA as more of a model of what your business is.
Yeah.
The game can be AAA if it's coming from a AAA developer or not to me. But that's my convoluted way of defining it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Square Enix makes a bunch of AAA games. They're right on the line that I think you could make a case for them being AAA.
Yeah.
But I would really narrow it down to the big conglomerate companies, your Activision Blizzards, obviously your Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, EA, Ubisoft. I'm trying to think of who else, because then we get into things like Capcom and we said Square, where it's are they AAA or are they just AA that are just top quality game developers?
Yeah.
And that's where it gets trickier. I guess my way of looking at it is if you consistently had an E3 show every year, you're probably a AAA company.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually how you did it. And Square did have its own for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, do we say they had a show or they just had a guy stand up at a podium and talk?
Yeah, no, their show did suck.
I remember those. Those were not shows.
Those were not great. They did not.
Those were company meetings that we happened to have a video feed into.
Yeah, yeah. It was a Zoom call. It was a Zoom call before COVID made it cool. Oh God. Yeah, I can't stand EA and Ubisoft. Just so much of what they're doing. They'll put out the odd good game. Don't get me wrong, but for the most part, and just as a company, I hate what they're doing. It's just not good. They are not good.
Well, and it's why I go out of my way now that if I'm ever going to partake in anything they have, I'll generally look at alternative ways other than buying it at either full price or even half price in some cases. If Game Pass has it, I'll go right to that. If I can find a really cheap version of it on PC, if you look on because I got that GG.deals website or whatever, you can find something. I'll just keep waiting tabs on these things and just finding them for super cheap now because I'd rather do that and play something that may be at best a 7 for me rather than buy it early, not like it and realize there's $70 down the drain because if I'm going to put $20 towards something, I'd rather be something that I think actually has passion put into it, which is why indie is becoming so much more of a thing to me now.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm so much more willing to take a risk on an indie game. I'll still look at some reviews. I'll look at screenshots, but it's more does the art style seem like one that I would enjoy? It's more personal preference I'm looking for, not is this game actually good or not? Because I feel with indie games also, a lot of the reviews are a lot more just honest and actually trying to promote the game in a good way. Whereas AAA big games, usually it's people just it's not even the reviews are about the game. It's about more the publisher or the company or something like that. Yeah, but when it comes to indie games, I'm much more willing to just take a chance. One, they're obviously cheaper. They're usually like $20 or whatever. But also, I know that the person who made it probably deserves that money. And even if it's not fully my cup of tea, I'm probably still going to enjoy it. And there's zero guilt in giving that money where it's gone, right? So,
like the way I look at it now is AAA is where you're going to go to get guaranteed, generally speaking, for the most part, like solid things that you already know that you're going to like. Indie is where you go to take it is you're going to the roulette table and seeing what you get. And if you hit it big, you hit it big. Like I get a game like the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, or I get a game like Until Then, or a game like we both played Eastward, where we never would have touched that, had it not been on Game Pass at the time, and it turned out to be one of the best games we'd played.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Utterly fantastic game.
So like when it really comes down to it, like I'm not going to sit there and like talk to you, the people, and say, stop buying AAA. What I would say is, instead of every single AAA game that's coming out, wait a few months for that. Unless you really need to. But I think at this point, most of you are probably in the camp of, I don't actually need to play Assassin's Creed Shadows at launch when it comes out. You guys probably will because you're suckers. But
100%. Yeah, it's like the one franchise that me and Kaylan are still stuck to.
Yeah, but for any other game, like if there's one that you can pass for 3 months, take a chance on something instead of going for the $80 game. Look, if you're on Steam, look on Steam. If you're on PlayStation, look on the store and see, if there are any indie gems. Look at every once in a while, I'll pop on the store, look at what's just come out, and just see if there's anything from the cover or the title that sounds interesting. I'm like, okay, what's that? And I'll see what that is. Most of the time, it's nothing. Sometimes I'll come up and be like, you know what? I'll wish this, that, or you know what? I'll look a little deeper into this and see what happens. And you end up finding games that just come out of nowhere on you. And the same goes for, especially on Steam, where there's a lot more of a demo culture there, because obviously PlayStation's we're going to put demos behind PlayStation Premium for some reason. But
paying for demos.
If you are a PC gamer, go try demos of stuff. You'd be surprised, because you're probably going to look at some stuff and be like, well, that looks like a game that was made for $50 in the Unity engine. You'd be surprised what people can do with a little bit of elbow grease and an actual idea that could be worth something. Yeah. Because there's a game I'm playing right now. I might talk about it later, but it's called Techno Banter. It looks and runs like dog shit, but it is fucking funny. Because it's a game about you being a bouncer in this pseudo 2.5D cyberpunk, humans plus animals world where it's just all about insulting people that you don't want to let into the bar. And it runs like ass. It doesn't look that great, but goddamn does it have charm and personality. And sometimes it's nice to have a break from something that has zero personality and passion in it anymore, because it was made by 1,000 people, with a bunch of people at the top who made a bunch of decisions based on business etiquette rather than actual passion for the industry, and went with a bunch of checkboxes to make sure that it was applicable to as many people as possible. Sometimes playing a game that was made for 50 people, I mean, look at Balatro. That game was made, in the developer's words, for maybe 5 of his friends.
Yeah.
But you know what? He had a vision. Whereas, no offense to Ubisoft, I don't think a lot of their games have a vision anymore.
No, it's a
EA's
formula that
don't, because they literally just copy and paste everything they do.
Yeah. Even when it comes to the indie scene, like you were mentioning, it seems like this game was made for $50. There are a ton of games, especially on Steam, obviously, that are made in RPG Maker. But the thing is that I have played a ton of those games. Most people will know To the Moon. Obviously that
I was about to say To the Moon is the one that immediately comes to mind.
Yeah, and that is an incredible series that has made me cry at every single game as a grown man. Really, really, really just what this is the most touching fucking story I've ever read and heard, and with the music and all that kind of stuff. But also there's another series which is nowhere near as known. It's called Millennium. I highly suggest, if there's anybody listening to this, just a cheap JRPG, very Super Nintendo, obviously, kind of levels, because it's RPG Maker, same graphics as To the Moon, same engine, obviously. But it's a series of 5 games. There's Millennium 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're very simple. They're very JRPG maker. So like the sound effects and stuff that you recognize from To the Moon, you'll hear in those as well. They're an incredible story. They're awesome across all 5 games. And it's like one continuous story. So they kind of end with a to be continued. Now, that used to be a big deal back when I was originally playing them, because I think I got up to the end of the second one and I was waiting for the third game to release and that kind of stuff. They're all out now. You can buy all 5 probably in a bundle. They're not very expensive and you can kind of play through them. But even that, it's just like a JRPG maker game, but the developer, the guy who made this, I'm assuming it's a guy, I actually don't even know, put so much effort into the story, pixel art of the characters, and that kind of stuff to actually make it like a quality Super Nintendo level JRPG. And I just call it Super Nintendo because of the like technological limits of the RPG maker. But yeah, the story, the music, and everything, like it's an amazing JRPG, and it's just made into RPG Engine, but it has more heart than most of the new JRPGs that say Square or anybody else really has put out. Like, because again, it's an indie developer who cares versus is just trying to, get a board of directors to, like the numbers they can produce or something. So yeah, indie's the way to go. Indie every time.
Yep, it's at a point now that I can't suggest people enough. It's the same way with music or TV shows, anime. Like, stop going for what the main is. The main like thing that everyone's talking about is. It might actually be good. I'm not gonna say it's not, but like sometimes taking a stab at something that is outside of your comfort zone can lead to stuff that you would never think you would have liked before. Did I think when I walked into the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood that I was going to enjoy a very girl power-esque kind of game? No. But it looked slightly interesting, and you know what? Screw it. Why not? What else am I going to do? Play another Call of Duty game? Like, I can only do the same thing so many times. And it's maybe, like, suddenly realize just how... Because I used to think for a while, like, man, like, games just don't do it for me anymore. No, it's because I've been playing the same shit for 20 years. I need to do something else.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes all it is. Sometimes you want to play a weird game where it's just you cleaning up crime scenes after a mob boss goes and kills a bunch of people. And then sometimes you can come back and you know what? GTA 6 will come out and I'll be okay to go back into that again. But like, there's got to be a fine balance. And I think that definitely people our age are getting that burnout stage because we've been playing solely AAA stuff for a long time. Like, we were playing garbage games before when we were kids because it's whatever we got. Like, whatever our parents got us is what we got. And then once in a while, if you were lucky, you go to the video store, you go to Rogers Video or Blockbuster, and you'd rent an actual good game for a few days, and you remember, oh, this is what good games play like. And then you go back to playing like fucking, oh god, like Wario's Woods or Mario is Missing or whatever, or like there were
Where's
like
Waldo?
Diamonds in the Rough, like Jet Force Gemini, which is a hidden gem on the N64 kind of deal. But like, more often than not, you don't have Super Mario World all the time. You don't have GoldenEye all the time. Sometimes you just have Quest 64.
Yeah, okay, first of all, people not Quest 64, I installed that on my Steam Deck. I'm going to play it. There's something about that game. It's so bad, but I like it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the music.
Do yourself a favor. Earth and whatever, I think it's Mirage. Stay away from fire. Stay away from water, I think.
Okay.
Because you're not going to be able to max them all out.
I never figured it. No, I couldn't figure it out. I remember on N64, I was just getting my ass handed to me. I'm like, I don't understand. Where's just attack and magic? What is this game?
But yeah, man. Like, we're at that point that it's just like we're burnt out on the stuff that we've been basically playing since like the PS2 era.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Completely agree. And that's actually one reason I think I love my Steam Deck so much, like why it might actually be my favorite console, even though I have a powerful gaming PC and an Xbox, a PlayStation, and a Switch. I think it really is just that it's such, because it can't play those brand new AAA games. Like, it can, but not like how you'd probably want to. Like, you don't.
You're a 60 frames per second guy, so you can only go so far with it.
Yeah, exactly. But as an indie machine, it's incredible. Like, the amount of games that it can play are, I mean, that are on Steam and you can just have in your hand. it's got me to try a lot of things that I already was into indie games, but it got me to try even more of them. And it's like, it's a game changer. Like, not even just the Steam Deck. I'm talking indie games and stuff. Like, they really are game changers in that you are discovering new genres of games that didn't exist until that game invented it, or like took an idea and did something different. Hitting on nostalgia, hitting on much better writing, much better story and effort and music and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, oh, I could gush about indies for so long. That's a future episode right there. Just top indie games showcase.
I mean, we'll just keep bringing it up over and over again, and more will get added to the list as we go. Because let's be honest, there's nothing more easy for us to do right now than to complain about the top companies literally just doing nothing.
Yeah.
But to talk about nothing, we're going to let y'all go for now so you can do whatever else, because, I think you've spent enough time with us for one day. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for checking us out. Obviously, here on YouTube, if you're watching, like and subscribe if you're listening on any audio platform, Spotify, Apple Music, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, all that jazz. If you can give us a rating, do so. If you can give us a like or some sort of anything like that, do that. Obviously, share with people. We got our link tree, linktr.ee/PixelPlay Podcast, link to our Discord. I'm going to put, by the time that this show is airing, I'm going to put a new channel in the Discord for those that are here to actually ask questions. If you have anything, like whether it's, an actual legit question, like, hey, what do you think about this? Or if you just want a meme question, to be like, hey, which character are you going to go take to a coffee shop and then throw coffee in there? I don't know. Like, I'm just going to make shit up as we go here. If you got something fun to say, come join the Discord, or if you're already in the Discord, going to put the channel in there. If you guys are going to ask us some questions we can do at the end of the show, do that. Always happy to hear you guys' input. So, that being said, we will be back on Friday for the side quest if you're here on YouTube. If you don't watch us on YouTube, we have extra content on Fridays. And obviously, you'll want to like and subscribe for that. And you really should subscribe, because in one more subscriber, we will finally get to do that 250 sub serial episode we've been talking about for months. And I say months because we did take a break for a little bit. But hey, enough about that. We'll worry about that later. But yeah, we're getting close to that serial episode. We need a reason to get Kaylan back here, okay? Come on, get on it.
Yeah, nothing. Serial brings us together.
Well, with that being said, we're going to take off because I got some cereal to go eat. I don't know what kind yet because I don't actually have any in the cover, but I'll figure that out as I go. But we're going to do it, guys. Thank you so much for seeing us, and we will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye for now.